بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والعاقبة للمتقين ولا عدوان إلا على الظالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين وعلى أزواجه وذرياته وأهل بيته وصحبه أجمعين ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. ربي زدني علما سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم. ولقد يسرنا القرآن للذكر فهل من مدكر. اللهم إنا نسألك إيمانا كاملا ويقينا صادقا وقلبا خاشعا ولسانا ذاكرا ورزقا واسعا طيبا وعلما نافعا وعملا متقبلا آمين يا رب العالمين. Review on December 16, 2013. The past tense, the fi'l al-fi'l al-madi, is of two kinds. Number one, ma'roof, active voice. Number two, majhool, passive voice. We mentioned that ma'roof means when the subject of the verb is mentioned and indicated. And then majhool is when the subject of the verb is not indicated and not mentioned. So the example of the first, huwa qara al-Qur'ana, he read the Qur'an, and then beneath it, quri al-Qur'anu, the Qur'an was read. So the first is the example of ma'roof, the active voice, qara al-Qur'ana. So this one, that one man, he recited the Qur'an. Quri'a, this is majhool, the Qur'an was recited and the subject of the verb is not mentioned. The other example, sharibna labanan, we, sharibna is the mutakallim, is jama mutakallim, so we drank. Sharibna labanan, milk. So it is the past tense and it is ma'roof. So al-fi'l al-madi ma'roof. The subject of the verb is us, a mutakallim, and it's mentioned, so it will be ma'roof. Beneath it, shuriba labanun, the milk was drunk. So shuriba is fi'l al-madi al-majhool. The subject of the verb is not mentioned. Who drank the milk is not mentioned. How do you make al-fi'l al-majhool? You put a dhamma on the fa kalima and a kasra on the ain kalima and leave the fatha on the lam kalima. So we said this in the last class also, and we said it in the class before that also. So this is the third time I'm repeating it. So we all know how to make fi'l al-madi majhool, right? And then we know the conjugation, shuriba, shuriba, shuribu, shuribat, shuribata, shuribna, shuribta, shuribtuma, shuribtum, shuribti, shuribtuma, shuribtunna, shuribtu, shuribna. Now we were drank, it's not really used, but we should at least know how to make the fi'l al-majhool, fi'l madi al-majhool. Alright, number 3, placing the word ma before both the active and the passive voices will negate the past tense verb. So I said, you have the fi'l fa'ala, you put a mim and an alif before it, ma fa'ala, it becomes that man did not do. So it negates. And then, let's say, dhuriba. Dharaba means he hit. Dhuriba means he got hit. So if you put a mim alif before daraba, ma daraba, he did not hit. Ma dhuriba, he did not get hit. So placing the ma will negate it. And an ayah that we hear all the time of Surah Al-Dhariyat, the 51st Surah of the Quran, and this is the 56th ayah. We hear this ayah all the time. وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ. So, خَلَقْتُ is wahid, mutakallim. It comes right here on the mutakallim. So, wa'adtu khalaqtu. So, who's talking here? Who's talking? Adam alayhi salam is talking, or Hawa alayhi salam? Hawa? Who says Hawa? Allah. Okay. Subhanallah. Alright, I shouldn't even joke about that. وَمَا خَلَقْتُ. So now the ma is on the word khalaqtu. Khalaqtu means I created. When Allah puts the ma before it, I did not create. So this, when ma and illa comes in any sentence, it creates emphasis. So I did not create jinn kind, and I did not create mankind except so they can worship me. And I, Allah, created not the jinn and mankind except that they should worship me. لِيَعْبُدُونِ. But when you do a waqaf there, meaning it's stop sign, so you say لِيَعْبُدُونَ. So, وَمَا خَلَقْتُ. So this is the word. So مَا خَلَقَا, مَا خَلَقَا, مَا خَلَقُوا, مَا خَلَقَتْ, مَا خَلَقَتَا, مَا خَلَقْنَا, مَا خَلَقْتَ, مَا خَلَقْتُمَا, مَا خَلَقْتُمْ, مَا خَلَقْتِ, مَا خَلَقْتُمَا, مَا خَلَقْتُنَّا. And then this comes مَا خَلَقْتُ, and then مَا خَلَقْنَا. So this is the whole conjugation. Very easy. And then when the ma comes on fi'l al-madi majhul, the example is ما كتبت الرسالة. ما كتبت الرسالة. The letter was not written. كتبت الرسالة, the letter was written. You put a ma in the beginning, the letter was not written. So this has been mentioned in the last two classes. Last class, at the end of class, we went over the next part very briefly, so I'm going to go into that a little bit in detail. The word qad, when added to al-fi'l madi, changes the meaning to recent past. Al-madi qareeb. So fa'ala is madi, and if you put a qad before it, then it becomes recent past. Fa'ala means he did, and qad fa'ala means he just did. I gave two examples, easy examples. Akala, he ate. Qad akala, he just ate. Dhahaba, he left. Qad dhahaba, he just left. So, qad gives the meaning when it comes on the madi, al-fi'l al-madi, then it gives the meaning of qareeb, something that happened recently. Qad also gives the meaning of certainty. Many times it comes alone, just qad. قَدْ سَمِعَ اللَّهُ قَوْلَ الَّتِي تُجَادِلُكَ فِي زَوْجِهَا وَتَشْتَكِي إِلَى اللَّهِ. Sometimes it comes alone, and sometimes it comes with the letter lam, laqad. So the lam is also for emphasis and certainty. Qad is also for emphasis and certainty. So Allah puts the two letters together, the two words together, and then whatever he is about to say is going to have a lot of emphasis in it. So the example that's given ahead is Surah At-Teen, the 95th surah of the Quran, the 4th ayah. لَقَدْ خَلَقْنَا الْإِنسَانَ فِي أَحْسَنِ تَقْوِيمٍ. So, خَلَقْنَا, Allah is saying that we created man. We خَلَقْنَا الْإِنسَانَ, we created man. And then when the qad came on it, indeed we created man. لَقَدْ, with the lam also, indeed and definitely and with certainty, we created man in the best stature. In the best surah. So, a lot of times, the translation is weak. All we say is indeed or verily, but the Arabic is strong. La, and then qad, and then sometimes there's even something on the fi'l itself, there's addition at the end of it that brings more and more certainty. So you can get the example like, the child asked the mother that, where did the father go? And she says, he left. And then he asks again, where did the father go? So she says, he left. So he says it with a louder tone. So in the word, it's the same word, he and left. But with the tone, it becomes more emphasized. So in the same manner, the Arabic is much more emphasized, but the meaning and the translation is not as strong as what the Arabic is actually saying. So we should know that when we know now, the lam comes for emphasis, the qad comes for emphasis, now we know how strong this statement is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Alright, so the qad, when it comes on a fi'al madi, then it brings emphasis and it brings certainty. Then we mentioned that the word kana is also added on the fi'l al-madi, and when added, the fi'l madi changes the meaning to distant past. So something that happened a long time ago. Wajada, he found. Kana wajada, he had found. He found something a long time ago. It could be very distant past or it could be distant past. It doesn't matter as long as it happened in the distant past. Wa'ada, he promised. Kana wa'ada, he had promised long time ago. So now there was just the fi'l madi, and now we have two additional verb forms. When the qad comes on, it becomes al-madi qareeb, and when the kana comes, it becomes madi ba'id. So I wrote it on the board. So we will say al-fi'l al-madi mutlaq. Mutlaq means simple, general, without any addition to it. So the general past, it happened in the past. It doesn't have any condition of recent or distant or doubtful or desirous. Just al-madi mutlaq, something happened in the past. Akala, he ate. So it's not mentioned when he ate, distant, recent, whatnot. So that's the first type of madi. Now we know a second type of madi, al-madi qareeb, something that happened in the recent past. So what do we add to the madi to make it recent past? Qad. Alright, so let's do this over here. Qad wa'ada. Now we've said this word a couple times now, so now we should know what wa'ada means. He promised. Okay. So he promised. Qad wa'ada. He just promised. All right. Where's my clock? All right. So, and qad wa'ada They two men just promised. قَدْ وَعَدُوا. All those men just promised. They promised not to do it again. Alright. قَدْ وَعَدَتْ. That one lady just promised. قَدْ وَعَدَتَا. Those two ladies just promised, and then قَدْ وَعَدْنَا. All those ladies just promised. Alright, so this goes on. You men, one man just promised. You two men just promised. All you men just promised. You one lady just promised. You two ladies just promised. And then all of you ladies just promised. I just promised. We just promised. Alright, so it's easy, so I'm not going to go so much in detail. So now we have Madi Qareeb and Madi Mutlaq. We were just calling it Fi'l al-Madi, but now we're going to add the word Mutlaq to it, so it becomes the general past. Okay? Another thing on this is, okay, let's just leave the word qad on there. Qad wa'ada means he just promised. Now, Madi Qareeb is also the active voice and also the passive voice. So, what will I do to this to make it majhool? What will I do to this word right here to make it majhool? Wu'ida, good job. So, we will change the fatha to a dhamma. We will change the fatha to a kasra here, and we'll leave the lam kalima alone. Qad wu'ida, that one man just got promised. Alright? In the same manner. So, just like this was Madi, al-Fi'l Madi, wa'ada, to make it into majhool, we had to change the fatha and then kasra. So, now we got qad also, qad wu'ida. So just wu'ida was those two men got promised. Qad wu'ida, those two men just got promised. And then same thing. Qad wu'idu, all those men just got promised. Alright. Madi, we mentioned there's an active and then there's a passive, and we also mentioned each active form and each passive form has a positive and a negative. So this was ma wa'ada and ma wu'ida. So now you have qad wu'ida, or let's go back to wa'ada again. And now you're going to put a ma. So ma qad wa'ada and ma qad. Okay, let's go back to wa'ada. And then, so you can add a ma also, and that one man did not just get promised. Those two men did not just get promised. All those men did not just get promised. Now over here it might sound strange with the word wa'ada. So if we made dhahaba, that one man did not just leave. He left a long time ago. Mata dhahab, when did he leave? He didn't. Qad dhahab, he just left. Ma qad dhahab, he did not just leave. So, with different verbs, it might sound more easier to understand. But anyway, we can work with wa'ada. So, if we make it majhool, then ma qad wu'idu. So, that one man did not just get promised. Alright? These examples actually do come in the Quran. We will mention them, inshallah, as we get ahead. So now, Madi Mutlaq had a ma'roof and a majhool, and Madi Mutlaq had a positive and a negative, a manfi and a muthbat. So in the same manner, Madi Qareeb also has a Ma'ruf and a Majhool, active voice and passive voice, and it also has a Manfi and a Musbat. Manfi means you put a Mim Alif and you negate it, it becomes negative, and if that's not there, it's positive. And we have all the forms of Ma and Qad also, Qad also. Al-Madi Qareeb. Alright, now we can go to Madi Ba'id. We mentioned it last week. So, Madi Qareeb means recent past. These are all past tenses, something that's happened in the past. So, Madi Qareeb means recently it just happened. Madi Ba'id means it happened in the past, some time ago. It's distant. So, you put Kana. He promised long time ago. Kana wa'ada, they promised long time ago. Kanu wa'adu, those two men promised long time ago. All those men promised long time ago. That one lady promised long time ago. Those two ladies promised long time ago. All those ladies promised long time ago. So when you put the word kana, and this comes in the Quran a lot. So now you'll understand the word kana whenever it comes in the Quran. Alright? But it's a little different than Madi Qareeb. That's why I haven't put the other ones yet. First, let's just understand. Whenever kana comes on top of a fi'l, Madi, it becomes Madi Ba'id, it becomes distant past, and it brings the meaning of something that happened in the distant past. Now, if this happened like this, kana wu'ida, he was promised long time ago. Alright, this is Majhool, we already mentioned Ma'ruf, and this is also positive. He was promised long time ago, and if you put a Ma here, Ma kana wu'ida, he was not promised a long time ago. And this actually comes in. Alright, now the difference. What's the difference? Kana comes in all of these in the beginning, but unlike Qad doesn't change, right? Qad is like this over here, Qad is like this over here. It's the same Qad, it's for tahqiq, and it will come on all 14 of the forms. So, قد وعد, قد وعدا, قد وعدوا, قد وعدت, قد وعدتا, قد وعدنا. So if we write it here, قد وعدت, قد وعدتما, قد وعدتم, قد وعدت, قد وعدتما, قد وعدتن, قد وعدت, قد وعدنا. So qad will come on all 14 of the verb forms, and it's going to make the meaning into recent past that one man promised, just promised. Those two men just promised. All those men just promised. So qad will change the meaning of fi'l al-madi from past or general past to recent past, but the word itself will stay the same as far as qad is concerned. But unlike qad, kana is different. Kana is also a verb. It comes for Madi Ba'id to change the meaning from general past to distant past. So kana wa'ada, just wa'ada meant that one man promised. Kana wa'ada means that one man promised a long time ago. Alright? He had promised. So this is, he just promised, qad, and then he had promised. So he promised a long, long time ago. So it's distant. And this will also come on all 14 of the verbs, the main verb. But since kana itself is a verb, just like the main verb changes at the end from wa'ada to wa'ada, from wa'ada to wa'adu, and wa'adu to wa'adat, and wa'adata, and wa'adna, in the same manner, the kana will also change with the verb. Kana itself is a verb, so it has to be conjugated alongside the main verb also. So, kana wa'ada, and now just like we added an alif at the end of wa'ada to make it tasniya, to make it dual, in the same manner we're going to add an alif at the end of noon. So from kana it became kana. So kana wa'ada, kana wa'ada. In the same manner, we're adding an alif at the end of noon. We're going to add a waw. So kanu wa'adu. Alright? So we added a waw to the main verb, and this is a verb also. It's bringing the meaning of distant past. So it's changing the meaning of the general past, and itself, the verb itself is changing as the conjugation goes on. So in the 14 forms, it's also going to change. So kana wa'ada, kana wa'ada, kanu wa'adu, and then kanat wa'adat. So ta sakina at the end. So the word was wa'ada. Ta came for the mu'annas ghaib, wahid mu'annas ghaib. In the same manner, kana changed from kana to kanat for the wahid mu'annas ghaib. Now, in this, it's going to change kanata, wa'adata, and then kunna. Alright? So kanata, wa'adata, and then in this verb, what do you do to wa'ada to make it jama mu'annath ghaib? You add a noon with the fatha and you make sakin on the dal. So in the same manner, kunna was kaf and then noon, and then you have to add another noon, right? So it was kunna, kunna. So the easier way to write that is kunna. Alright? So it becomes two noons. Kunna wa'adna. Alright? So kana wa'ada, kana wa'ada, kanu wa'adu, kanat wa'adat, kanata wa'adata, kunna wa'adna. And then in the same way that we added ta fatha, so we will put a fatha. So kunta wa'adta. Alright? So let me say the whole thing. كان وعدا, كانا وعدا, كانوا وعدوا, كانت وعدت, كانتا وعدتا, كنا وعدنا, كنت وعدت, كنتما وعدتما, كنتم وعدتم, كنتي وعدتي, كنتما وعدتما, كنتن وعدتن, كنت وعدت, and كنا وعدنا. And this is all in the handout that I gave you. It's all conjugated. In the handout, it's front and back. And you can find the ma'ruf also, wa'ada, And you can find the majhul also on this, which is wu'ida. So kana, wu'ida. Now in the majhul, the kana will not change. Alright? It'll just stay kana, but this will change to wu'ida, kana, wu'ida, kanu, wu'idu, kanat, wu'idat, kanata, wu'idata, kunna, wu'idna, kunta, wu'idta, kuntuma, wu'idtuma, kuntum, wu'idtum, kunti, wu'idti, kuntuma, wu'idtuma, kuntunna, wu'idtunna, kuntu, wu'idtu, and kunna, wu'idna. So it's also written here. The second line, it has the majhul form, and then the next two lines are with the manfi. So when it's negative, so if you put a ma over here, ma kana wa'ada, ma kana wa'ada, ma kanu wa'adu, ma kanat wa'adat, ما كانتا وعدتا ما كنا وعدنا ما كنت وعدت ما كنتما وعدتما ما كنتم وعدتم ما كنت وعدت ما كنتما وعدتما ما كنتن وعدتن ما كنت وعدت and ما كنا وعدنا. And in the same manner, كان وعدا كانا وعدا كانوا وعدوا كانت وعدت كانتا وعدتا كنا وعدنا. So the kunna, because of this noon, there's an extra noon, so there becomes two noons.
Why is it with the dhamma and not?
Oh, that's a good question. I'll get to that, inshallah. Kunta wa'adta, kuntuma wa'adtuma, kuntum wa'adtum, kunti wa'adti, kuntuma wa'adtuma, kuntunna wa'adtunna, kuntu wa'adtu, kunna wa'adna. So that one man promised long time ago, those two men promised long time ago, all those men promised long time ago, that one lady promised long time ago, those two ladies promised long time ago, and then all those ladies promised. So, kana, actually, it's different than wa'ada, what we have learned so far, right? So, what are like the root letters of this word are waw, ayn, and dal from wa'da. So what are the root letters of kaf and noon? Alright, so you got a kaf and an alif and a noon. So if you look in the dictionary to find the root letters, you will find that it's actually a kaf, a waw, and a noon. Kaun. Al-kaun. Kaun in Arabic means to do. We will mention, it's used in the Quran in many places, but let's go, let's find it. Yeah, kun fayakun, exactly. So in Surah Yasin, it comes in Surah Yasin in the 82nd ayah, which is the second last ayah of Surah Yasin. It comes, إِنَّمَا أَمْرُهُ إِذَا أَرَادَ شَيْئًا أَن يَقُولَ لَهُ كُن فَيَكُونَ. Verily his command when he intends a thing is only that he says to it, be and it is. Be and it is. Kun and it is. فَيَكُونَ. So al-kawn means to be. Alright? To be. So you will learn later on that whenever in a verb there is one of these three letters, an alif, a waw, or a ya. These three letters are also the letters of the vowels, and when they come in a verb, the verb becomes a little bit hard to pronounce all the forms of the verb. So you have to change it around a little bit to make it easier on the tongue. And that's the thing about Arabic. You will find that the words of the Quran are always flowing. They're not difficult to pronounce. They're not difficult to be fluent in and flowing with. So this was actually kawana, kawana. So it would have been kawana, kawana, kawanu, kawanat, kawanata, kawanna, kawatta, kawattuma, kawattum. So this form, and then there's other words also in different verbs that it would become hard on the tongue to pronounce. So the rule is whenever there's a wow with a sign on it, and behind the wow there's a fatha, then you change that wow to a alif. This is the rule. Now this rule is way down the line. We're going to teach you this rule maybe in the end of this book or maybe in the next book. But I'm just giving you a little bit of explanation because the brother asked. So this is how it became from kavana to kana. That wow actually changed to an alif, and now it becomes easy to pronounce. There are other words also that have this same ruling on them, which we say a lot. For example, qama. Qama, we say when the person is when the salah is about to start, the person said, qad qamatis salah, qad qamatis salah. So the word qama is used. All right? Qama. So the qama was actually qawama. All right? So the waw changed to an alif because of the same rule that I said. Qama, qama, qamu. And another word that comes a lot, and everybody should know this word, is qala. Qala Allah, qala Rasul, Allah said. Qala. Qala was actually also qabala. But because of the rule that I explained, it becomes easy on the tongue, so we changed it to qala. So qala, qala, qalu, qalat. We hear qalu all the time. And then qulna, we said. Qultu, qultu, I said. All right? Qumtu, I stood. So this is a rule that we will explain down the line. But right now you know how this kana came into existence. Okay? So it was actually kawana, but now it's kana. So kana wa'ada, kana wa'ada, kanu wa'adu, kanat wa'adat, kanata wa'adata, kunna wa'adta, kunna wa'adna, kunta wa'adta, kuntuma wa'adtuma, kuntum wa'adti, kuntuma wa'adtuma, kuntunna wa'adtunna, kuntu wa'adtu, kunna wa'adna. So you have to have you have to practice this a lot to bring it onto your tongue. We used to practice it a lot, so it's kind of easy for me to say, but we need to practice it a lot. Okay, so dhahaba, he left. Kana dhahaba, he had left a long time ago. So dhahab means to leave, to go. That comes in the Quran 35 times. Wajada, he found. Kana wajada, he had found. So that comes in the Quran 107 times, the word wajada. And this word wa'ada, to promise, this comes in the Quran 124 times. So now we know wa'ada means to promise, and now whenever the word wa'ada comes in the Quran, we will know it means promised. All right? All right, now you can look at this sheet that I gave you, and you will find whatever I wrote on the board. It should be there. So, kana kataba, kana kataba, kanu katabu, kanat katabat, kanata katabata, kunna katabna. كنت كتبت كنتما كتبتما كنتم كتبتم كنت كتبت كنتما كتبتما كنتن كتبتن كنت كتبت and كنا كتبنا. So it's all there, the meanings are there. He had written, they two men had written, all those men had written, she had written, those two females had written, all those females had written. You kunta katabta, you had written, kuntuma katabtuma, you two had written, and so forth, so on and so forth. So this should help. And then I gave you guys last week, I gave you this sheet, and then we never got to it. It has the same thing, but it has the word nasara, to help. So kana nasara, he had help. Kana nasara, they had help. Kanu nasaru, they had helped. Kanat nasarat, she had help. So first they have the perfect. Perfect basically means madi, okay? Madi and then active. You will learn that madi means perfect because the action of the verb has already been done. And then we're going to learn the imperfect, which in Arabic is called mudari', and that will come later on. Imperfect tense is the present and future tense. It hasn't happened yet. It's not the action has not happened yet, so it's imperfect. And this has already happened, so it's perfect. Okay. So then you got the passive, the majhul. Kana nusira, kana nusira, kanu nusiru, kanat nusirat, kanata nusirata, kunna nusirna. So you got the majhul also. So he had been helped, they, two men had been helped, and all those men had been helped. So this should be, easy to understand. And then the same thing as qad, you can put a mim alif in the beginning of it and make it negative. So ma kana nasara, all of them, he had not helped. And then ma kana nusira, he had not been helped. Is there any questions in this? Should I say it again to make it more clear, or we can move ahead? All right?
This is in the book or no?
No, this is one of my handouts. One of my handouts. I gave it last week. Yeah, I will give it to you after class. I have to find it. I have a lot of them. I have to find it. I have to find it. I don't know where it is. So.
Continues on the backside, right?
Yeah, it continues on the backside, okay? So you have all 14 forms on this. That's a different one. Yeah, that's a different one. This is the one we gave last week. Okay. Let's find one example in the Quran. Surah Al-Mulk. We should all, the Prophet ﷺ said that there is a surah which is 30 ayat long. I wish that it would be in the hearts of every one of my nation, every one of my people of my ummah. So 30 ayat is Surah Al-Mulk. Alright, so it's a very nice surah, we should all know it by heart. تَبَارَكَ الَّذِي بِيَدِهِ الْمُلْكُ وَهُوَ عَلَى كُلِّ شَيْءٍ قَدِيرٌ. Surah Al-Mulk is which number surah? It is the 67th surah of the Quran. It is the first surah of the 29th chapter. Alright, so if we turn to Surah Al-Mulk and you go to ayah number 10, you will see the example of this. وَقَالُوا لَوْ كُنَّا نَسْمَعُ أَوْ نَعْقِلُ مَا كُنَّا فِي أَصْحَابِ السَّعِيرِ. So you see the word kunna there. And what is the translation? And they will say, had we but listened or used our intelligence, we would not have been among the dwellers of the blazing fire. So it's there. There's a more clearer example in Surah Ma'idah, Surah Al-Ma'idah. Surah Ma'idah is the 5th surah of the Quran. And we'll just give this one example and then we'll go on. 5th surah and 116th ayah. The 116th ayah of the 5th surah, which is Surah Al-Ma'idah. Let me read it to you. وَإِذْ قَالَ اللَّهُ يَا عِيسَى ابْنَ مَرْيَمَ أَأَنْتَ قُلْتَ لِلنَّاسِ اتَّخِذُونِي وَأُمِّيَ إِلَٰهَيْنِ مِن دُونِ اللَّهِ قَالَ سُبْحَانَكَ مَا يَكُونُ لِي أَنْ أَقُولَ مَا لَيْسَ لِي بِحَقٍّ إِن كُنتُ قُلْتُهُ فَقَدْ عَلِمْتَهُ. So we got the qad also, and we got kuntu and qultu also. Alright. And remember when Allah will say on the Day of Judgment, O Isa, son of Maryam, did you say to the men, worship me and my mother as two gods besides Allah? He will say, Subhanak, glorified are you. Ma yakunu li an aqula ma laysa li bihaq. It is not for me to say what I had no right. Had I said such a thing, wa in kuntu qultuhu. Had I said this. So kuntu is over here, the mutakallim. So kuntu wa'adtu, and over here in this surah it's kuntu qultu, from the word qala. Qala, qala, qalu, qala. So had I said this. So this is distant past. You know, when I was in the world way long time ago on earth, you know, thousands of years ago, had I said this. So this is distant past. فَقَدْ عَلِمْتَ. So fa is a harf which means then, faqad, and then indeed alimta. You, alimta is this word. So sometimes it's wa'adta, and sometimes like sami'ta, it has a kasra on the ayn kalima. So alima, 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 alimu, alimat, alimata, alimna, alimta. So this is the word, okay? So if I would have said this, then you would have known. You definitely would have known. So it has the word of certainty. It has the meaning of certainty in it. So you got both kuntu there, and you got both, and you got qad also there. So now when you see this ayah, in kuntu qultuhu, now you'll know this kuntu is from this kana, and it's madhi ba'id, and it means it's talking about the distant past. And then when you say faqad alimta, you would definitely have known. What is the you would surely have known it. So it's also madhi, the past tense, but it is madhi qareeb. But madhi qareeb meaning, the qad meaning certainty. You would certainly and surely had known it. There's one example in Surah.
What?
Say that.
What ayah number was it?
Oh, this is Surah Al-Ma'idah. This is the 5th surah of the Quran, and ayah number 116. Okay, 116. It's an amazing ayah. One more ayah we'll mention, and then we'll go on. It's Surah Amma Yatasa'alun. It is the first surah of the 30th juz, and the last ayah of that is وَيَقُولُ الْكَافِرُ يَا لَيْتَنِي كُنْتُ تُرَابًا. We wish, the kafir will say that I wish that I was dust. So, meaning I wish I was an animal who was made into dust and then finished, you know. So, it has the meaning of something that has happened in the past. Alright, we're going to move on. I don't want to go over 9 o'clock. So now we know Madi Mutlaq, the general past, Madi Qareeb, the recent past, Madi Ba'id, the distant past, and then there's also another Madi doubtful, something that happened in the past but is doubtful. This one and this one does not come so much in the Quran and Hadith. It comes very rarely, but it does come, so we should know it. These will come a lot. These three will come a lot. But these two, and there's one more we'll mention a little bit down the road, but so far we should know these five. So Madi Ihtimali, Al-Madi Tamannai. Madi Ihtimali means the doubtful past. Perhaps it happened in the past. And then Madi tamannai, the desirous past, meaning would that it would have happened. So, you know, this last ayah of Surah An-Naba that I mentioned, وَيَقُولُ الْكَافِرُ, and the kafir will say, Ya laytani, would that I would have been dust. So the word layta is used, and that's what I'm going to explain. When you add a laytama, then it becomes desirous past. So now, Madi mutlaq, he promised. Madi qareeb, he just promised. Madi ba'id, he had promised. Madi ihtimali, he might have promised. Perhaps he promised. And then Madi tamannai, would that he would have promised. Okay? So what are we going to put to make it Madi ihtimali, doubtful? The word that we're going to put here is la'allama. 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 And this doesn't change, it's the same. And then la'allama, la'allama. It's just la'allama all across the board.
Why not is waw and alif in this one?
Huh?
La'allama.
Because this is not a fi'l, it's not a verb. Kana was a fi'l. So kana, as it changes, it's a fi'l, it changes. So this is actually not a verb, it is what is called a harf. And we will learn that when we get there. It doesn't change. Just like ma doesn't change. Ma is a harf of nothing. You know, it's for negation. Qad doesn't change, it's for certainty. In the same manner, this is for showing doubt. So, لَعَلَّهُمْ, you know, it comes in the Quran, يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا اتَّقُوا يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا كُتِبَ عَلَيْكُمُ الصِّيَامُ كَمَا كُتِبَ عَلَى الَّذِينَ مِنْ قَبْلِكُمْ لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ. O you who believe, fasting has been made mandatory upon you, obligatory upon you, just like it was made mandatory upon the people before you, so that you can achieve, so that you might achieve taqwa. So it has might in it. It has a doubt in it. So if you spend Ramadan in the proper manner and you're fasting in the proper way, then you're going to achieve an amazing gift at the end of it. And some people may be in the middle of it because their fasting is so great and their nights are so great and their recitation of the Quran and listening to the Quran is so great, they achieve it. So Allah is saying, لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ. And it comes in the Quran a lot. لَعَلَّ, the word لَعَلَّ. So, لَعَلَّمَا وَعَدَا, he might have promised. لَعَلَّمَا وَعَدَا, those two men might have promised. لَعَلَّمَا وَعَدُوا, all those men might have promised. لَعَلَّمَا وَعَدَتْ, that one lady might have promised. لَعَلَّمَا وَعَدَتَا, those two ladies might have promised. لَعَلَّمَا وَعَدْنَا, all those ladies might have promised. This is very easy, don't feel that it's hard, inshallah. We'll put a nice recording of this and we can keep listening to it over and over again if you feel I'm going too fast. But inshallah, yeah, you can see it online over and over again and understand it.
So always been la'allama.
Yeah, it's not going to change. None of them are going to change except for the kana, except for the madi ba'id. Alright? Now, how would you say tamannai, desires past, with that it would have happened? So you're going to put, instead of la'allama, you're going to put laytama. Laytama. Alright? And laytama. Laytama wa'adat. Would that she would have promised. It would have been so nice if she would have promised. Laytama wa'adata. Would that they would have promised. Them two ladies. all those ladies. With that, all those ladies would have promised. So it has a meaning of desiring. Okay? Alright, let me give some examples of both. Alright, so al-Madi ihtimali. So far we had learned Madi Mutlaq, Madi Qareeb, and Madi Ba'id. Now we're learning two more types of Madi, two more types of past tense. Madi ihtimali, there's another word for it, al-Madi shakki. Shak means doubt, right? So ihtimali, there's a doubt. So the doubt in the past, a doubtful past, okay? So it's achieved by adding the word la'allama before it. So for example, la'allama dhahaba zaydun ilal masjid. Let's see who's picked up some of these words and verbs. Dhahaba means to go. La'allama dhahaba zaydun ilal masjid. Who can translate this one for me? Oh, you can translate it. La'allama zaydun. La'allama, sorry, dhahaba. La'allama dhahaba zaydun.
So Zaydun might have gone to the mosque?
Yeah. So if somebody asks, Aina dhahaba zaydun? Aina zaydun? Where is Zayd? Aina dhahaba zaydun? Where did Zayd go? So you go, لَعَلَّمَا ذَهَبَ زَيْدٌ إِلَى الْمَسْجِدِ.
Liman or Liman?
Huh?
Liman Masjid.
إِلَى الْمَسْجِدِ. إِلَى is a harf to say he went to the masjid or till. Okay? إِلَى مَسْجِدٍ or إِلَى الْمَسْجِدِ. Alright, so لَعَلَّمَا ذَهَبَ زَيْدٌ. Perhaps he went to the masjid. Alright, easy way. Let's go on. Alright, al-Madi tamannai, the meaning is the desire is past. So it becomes like, al-Madi tamannai when you put a laytama on it. So laytama najahtu, najaha. Najaha means, who knows some of these words that we've been? Success. Alright, good. So, laytama najahtu, how I wished I would have succeeded. With that I would have succeeded. How I wish I would have succeeded. Laytama najahtu. Najahtu is mutakallim. So, wa'adtu and najahtu. Okay? And this is where you're going to find وَيَقُولُ الْكَافِرُ يَا لَيْتَنِي كُنْتُ تُرَابًا. The day when man will see the deeds that he has sent forth, and the disbeliever will say, woe to me, would that I were dust. Would that I were dust. In Surah Yasin, a person is mentioned in the middle of, and as we know, Surah Yasin is one of the most amazing surahs, and every surah is amazing in the Quran, but Surah Yasin has many, many benefits, and a lot of virtues are mentioned of Surah Yasin. So in the middle of this surah, Allah mentions a certain person, and some say his name was Habib Najjar. Habib Najjar. So, he got some, I guess you can say, valor and bravery, and he went up to the people and he told them, you have to believe in Allah, and you have to believe in one Allah. And the story goes on, and they did not accept. So as he was dying, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala kind of mentions him. It's ayah number 26 of Surah Yasin. It has the word later in it, so that's why. What is Surah Yasin? What number is it? 36? Oh yeah, 36. And the 26th ayah. So, Inni amantu bi rabbikum fasma'un. Verily I have believed in your Lord, so listen to me. Alright. Qila dkhulil jannah. As soon as he died, soon, meaning just as he passed away, he entered paradise. So Allah is saying, it was said to him when the disbelievers killed him, enter paradise. They did not believe him. They got rid of him as soon as, because he was a da'i. He's giving da'wah. He stood up. So the da'wah that's mentioned here, Allah loves it so much that Allah puts it in Surah Yasin. Standing up. No matter what people say. Calling towards Allah. So as soon as he passes away, قِيلَ ادْخُلِ الْجَنَّةِ, it was told to him to enter paradise. And look at the shafqa and look at the compassion in his heart, like a Nabi. He says, قَالَ يَا لَيْتَ قَوْمِي يَعْلَمُونَ. As soon as he sees the Jannah, he said, I wish that my people would have seen this. Would that my people knew of this, what they're missing out on. So later is used here. قَالَ يَا لَيْتَ قَوْمِي يَعْلَمُونَ بِمَا غَفَرَ لِي رَبِّي وَجَعَلَنِي مِنَ الْمُكْرَمِينَ, that my Lord has forgiven me and made me from the honored ones. So it's mentioned in Surah Yasin. It's later. Yeah. Over here only ya later is used. So sometimes later will be used, sometimes later ma will be used. Alright, sometimes la'alla will be used, sometimes la'alla ma will be used. One thing to note is later comes on a noun and later ma comes on a verb. La'alla comes on a noun and la'alla ma comes on a verb. So this is, inshallah, maybe later on we will understand this. But, so now you know, when it's only later, it has the same meaning of desiring something. It will come on a noun. It won't come on a verb. When the ma is added to it, later ma, then it comes on a verb and it will give the meaning of desiring something in the past. When you put the ma on it, and it comes on a verb. So that's it. Now we know 5 types of fi'l madi. Madi mutlaq, something that happened in the general past. Sometimes it could be recent, it could be distant, it could be anything, but it's not mentioned. It just happened in the past. Madi qareeb, something that happened recently, it happened in the past. Madi ba'id, it happened distant past. Madi ihtimali, it happened in the past, but it's doubtful. He might have promised, so it's doubtful. And then, would that he would have promised, some happening in the past, but it's a desire. It's good now. Today we ended early, 5 minutes earlier. Alhamdulillah. I wanted to make this class 30 to 45 minutes, but we're going over an hour usually. Inshallah. Subhanallah wa bihamdihi, subhanakallah wa bihamdik, ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta, nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk, nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk, rabbi ighfir warham wa anta khairur rahim. This is a dua that after every gathering we should know this, we should say this. Even gatherings of deen and even gatherings outside, we're getting together. Everything should be deen, but then whatever we said, whatever good we said, whatever wrong we said, Allah forgives all the mistakes of whatever was said in that gathering. So this is a dua that should be said after each gathering. Subhanallahi wa bihamdihi, subhanakallahumma wa bihamdik, ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta, nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk. Today we do have tea, so. Oh yeah.